Hi, this is Ellen from the Chili Dog. Today I am working on my Omo Mobius shawl, and this is a project where gauge is especially important. So I'd like to share 3 quick tips for tight knitters that have a difficult time getting gauge on the needle size that's recommended in a pattern. Before I begin, I want to say thank you to my friend Vicky, the owner of Grandma's Spinning Wheel here in Tucson, for recommending this topic. Over the years, she's had many customers come into her shop wondering why they need to go up several needle sizes to get gauge when they're following a pattern. Both Vicky and I agreed that tip number 3 will be the solution for most people who consider themselves exceptionally tight knitters. So make sure to stay tuned all the way to the end of the video. Tip number 1, knit happy. It may sound crazy, but your mood can impact your stitch gauge. When you're frustrated or anxious about something in your life or in your knitting, you naturally tend to tighten your grip on everything, both figuratively and literally. Relax. Knitting's supposed to be fun. Tip number 2, stitches should hug the knitting needles, not strangle them. Because of the way we control our yarn, this tip is more likely to apply to English-style knitters or throwers. When you wrap the yarn around the needle to form a stitch, you want to make sure that there's enough tension that you're going to be able to pull the yarn through. After the stitch is formed, the yarn should be gently hugging the needle all the way around. It's not necessary to strangle the needle by pulling and stretching that yarn out of shape. Tip number 3, this is the big one. Knit on the shaft of your knitting needles, not on the tips of your knitting needles. You probably already know that knitting needles come in lots of different sizes. Today, I'm working on a US size 4 needle, and this needle is 3.5 millimeters in diameter, and it fits nicely through this hole. The tips of my needles are tapered, and they're much smaller here at the point than they are on the shaft. The point of my knitting needle is even smaller than the smallest hole here on my needle gauge. And this smallest hole would be like working on a 000 needle that's only 1.5 millimeters in diameter. So, if I form my stitches on the shaft of the needle, I should be able to get the intended stitch gauge most of the time. However, if I form my stitches up here right at the tips of my needles, they're going to be very small and tight. Then, as I slide these stitches up the needle, the stitches are going to stretch like a rubber band. They'll start small, stretch out to the size of the needle. And then when I work the stitches on the next round or row and they're pulled off my needles, the stitches will shrink back down to that original size that I knit at the tips. So instead of having stitches that are as big around as my actual needle, I actually only have stitches that are as big around up here as the tip of the needle, which is tiny. The stitches would be significantly smaller than the recommended gauge. So if you're a tight knitter, make sure that you're working your stitches up on the shaft of the needle. And I'm going to pull these last 2 out and just show you what I mean one more time. So just make sure that you are working your stitches up here on the shaft that is the actual diameter of the needle, not on the tips. I hope you enjoyed my 3 tips for tight knitters, and if you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you have any tips of your own about gauge, you're welcome to share them in the comments below. Until we stitch again, happy knitting!